Hello and welcome back to Mrs. Hauk's math class. I hope you guys all had a great break and are ready to begin. We're going to work on lesson 8 today. If you recall, before we begin this lesson, we were doing things like this. I gave you what we call a mixed number, and I asked you to change that to an improper fraction. If you remember, we multiplied the whole number times the denominator, and we added what was up here on the numerator to find 14, and we kept the denominator here, so my improper fraction was 14/3. The reason why we practice this is because today, if you notice, we're going to be doing something called dividing fractions with mixed numbers, and so we're going to be changing our mixed number into an improper fraction so we can do our keep, change, flip, and some of you remember that flip means we actually take the reciprocal of that fraction. So let's go ahead and open up our books and look at our first example. The story says Carly has 4.5 walls left to paint in order for all the bedrooms in her house to have the same color paint. However, she has used almost all of her paint and only has 5/6 of a gallon left. How much paint can she use on each wall in order to have enough paint to paint the remaining walls? So we notice she has 5/6 left. That's what she has left, and she has to take and separate that onto 4.5 walls. So we're going to take what we have, the 5/6 paint, and we have to divide that paint onto 4.5 walls. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change this to an improper fraction. Well, if you remember, we multiply 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9, so we have here 9/2, and we'll carry this down. So we actually have a division problem that says 5/6 divided by 9/2. Remember, we change it to keep, multiply, flip. So over here, I'm going to keep, I'm going to multiply, and then I'm going to flip. Multiply across the top. 5 times 2 is 10. Multiply across the bottom. 6 times 9 is 54. Now what we need to do is now we need to look at our answer and see if we can reduce it. So if you have a factor sheet, you can look here and find 10 and 54. Some of you already know your factors, so you don't have to look at this, but here's my number 10. The factors for 10 are 1, 2, 5, and 10. And if I look at 54, I have 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 18, 27, 54. So the only factor that they have in common is a 2. I like to write the 2 kind of right here to help me remember what the factor was. So I have to think about 2 times what is 10? Well, 2 times 5 is 10. And 2 times what is 54? Well, if I don't know what that is, you're probably going to have to come up here and take 54 and divide it by 2. Or you can look at your factor sheet as well. So if I do this, I can notice that the answer is 27. So remember, the problem was how much paint can she use on each wall in order to have enough to paint the remaining walls? So we're going to say that she can use 5/27 of a gallon. So I had some students in the past who were always very concerned about whether or not when they had a story problem like this, if they put the numbers in the correct order. Because obviously, if we would have put 4.5 first and divided it by 5/6, just watch carefully and let's see what my answer would be. So if I change this to an improper fraction, it was 9/2. Keep, change, flip. So I would have here 54/10. Well, that's obviously top heavy. So I would come over here and divide. 10 goes into 54 5 times. So I'd have 5 4/10. And some of you know that that actually reduces to 5 2/5. So if you notice, this answer is totally different than the answer that we received here in our book. If I look at the question, how much paint can she use on each wall? Well, if she only has 5/6 of a gallon left, there's no way that she can use 5 gallons on each wall. We don't even have 5 gallons. So sometimes it's helpful when you're doing a story problem to solve it both ways to see which answer makes sense. Okay, all right, let's move on to the next problem. It says calculate the quotient. Well, we know quotient means to find the answer when we divide. Well, the first thing we're going to need to do is we need to change this improper fraction. So I'm going to do this. 3 times 7 is 21. 21 plus 4 would be 25. So I have here 25 over 7. And I have 2/5. So I'm going to recopy the problem. So now I have 2/5 divided by 25 over 7. We're going to write this problem down, and now we're going to do our keep, change, flip. Remember, flip actually means the reciprocal. Okay, so let's take 2 times 7 across the top. And then 5 times 25. Well, I like to think in terms of quarters. And when I think of quarters, if I had 5 quarters, that would be $1.25. So my answer is 125. Okay, so we're going to put this into a little bit more practice. We're going to turn over to this next side here. And if you notice, there's a lot of boxes. We're not going to do all of the boxes. We're going to do a few problems. What I would like for you to do is I'd like for you to copy the first problem into the A box right here. So let's go ahead and write here 3/4 divided by 6 2/3. Okay, so we already know the first thing we have to do is we have to change this number. Well, 6 times 3 is 18. 18 plus 2 is 20. So underneath here, we're going to put 20 over 3. Remember, we keep the denominator. We'll copy the rest of the problem down. So here's our new problem. 3/4 divided by 20 over 3. Okay. Well, we know that means we are going to, let's go with this direction here. Keep, change, and we're going to flip. Multiply across the top. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 20 is 80. Okay, so there's our final answer. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you that that will not reduce. So we're going to keep it right there. All right, so let's do another problem. Let's go here, and in box C, let's write 1/3 divided by 4 3/4. Let's change this. 4 times 4 is 16. Plus 3 is 19. Keep our denominator. Bring down our problem. So we have 1/3 divided by 19 over 4. We must keep, multiply, find the reciprocal by flipping. We're going to do 1 times 4 is 4, and then we need to find 19 times 3. Can you guys solve for me 19 times 3? Okay, if you multiplied 19 times 3, you should have come up with the final answer of 57. Very good. All right, let's do another one. Next one I'm going to give to you is 2/5 divided by 1 7/8. Okay, if you think you know how to do this problem, go ahead and pause your video and try it on your own, and then come back and watch the video to see if you were correct. I'm going to change this to a improper. This is 1 times 8 is 8. 8 plus 7 is 15 over 8. Bring down my problem. Keep, change, and flip. I know that 18 times 2 is 16. And now I have to solve 15 times 5. So you can either do that on scrap paper or a marker board. And our answer is 75. Okay, hopefully we're getting a little bit better each time we do this. Let's start this time. Why don't we put the mixed number in the front? So I'm going to give you 7.5 divided by 5/6. we need to change this. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 1 is 15. Keep the denominator of 2. We're going to write the whole problem down, so don't do any keep, change, flip yet. So this is my new problem. Now I'm ready to keep, change, and now let's flip. Now we're going to have to multiply 15 times 6 and 2 times 5. Well, the nice thing is I've been practicing my multiplication facts, and I can see that there is a number on top and a number on bottom that I can actually reduce. They have the same factor. First of all, I know that 6 and 2 share a factor. They each can be divided by 2. 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into 6 3 times. Now I have a 15, 3, 1, and 5. I see some other numbers that I can reduce. Let's look at 15 and 5. They share a factor. If you look at your factor sheet, they share the factor of 5. 5 goes into 5 one time, and 5 goes into 15 3 times. Now I've got some smaller numbers to multiply. 3 times 3 is 9, and 1 times 1 is 1. And we know that that's top heavy. If we take 9 divided by 1, your answer is 9. Well, let's pretend we are somebody that we aren't able to reduce these numbers in the middle of our division problem, so we actually had to solve it. Well, we could still get the same answer. 15 times 6 is actually 90, and 2 times 5 is 10. If you notice, that's top heavy, so you would do 90 divided by 10, and if you notice, I got the same answer as I got right here. Okay, so just because you're not real sure about your factors doesn't mean you're still not going to get the right answer. You can still multiply. You're going to multiply larger numbers, but you're still going to get the same answer that you want. All right, the next one I would like for you to try is 3 1/5 divided by 2/3. Okay, like I said, if you feel comfortable pausing your video, please do that so that you can practice on your own to see if you're understanding the lesson. I have a mixed number I need to change. 3 times 5 is 15. We have to add that 1 there for 16 over 5. We copy the rest of the problem down. Now we're ready for our keep, multiply, and flip. Okay, now let's see. I do see here again, since I know my factors, I see a number up on the numerator and a number on the denominator that can be divided by 2. You notice I have 16 and 2, though they both can be divided by 2. 16 can be divided by 2 8 times, and 2 can be divided by 2 1 time. 8 times 3 is 24, and 5 times 1 is 5. Guess what? We're going to have to get our scrap paper because that is a top-heavy fraction. So on your scrap paper or your marker board, I need for you to solve 24 divided by 5. Okay, well, we know 5 cannot go into 2, but 5 goes into 24, it looks like, 4 times, which is 20. So I have an answer of 4 4/5. Now, what if you were that student who, remember, didn't know how to reduce this? So you had on your paper 16 over 5 times 3 over 2. And then you had to multiply your 16 times 3, and you got 48. And 5 times 2, and you got 10. You still notice that that was top heavy. So you had to divide. Goes in 4 times. So we have 4 8/10. And guess what? That can reduce to 4 4/5. Same answer. Okay, so that's what's nice about math, is that you have different ways of solving problems, all depending upon whether or not you know your multiplication facts. All right, last problem I want you to solve is 2 1/4 divided by 7/8. This time I want everyone to pause their video because I want to see if you can solve this one by yourself. All right, so I'm hoping we all remembered to change our mixed number. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1, so I have 9/4 divided by 7/8. That's my new problem. My new problem is going to be keep, multiply, do the reciprocal, which means we're going to flip it. Ooh, looks like it's going to be another top-heavy fraction. How many of you were able to reduce here? If you did, you did these two because they both can be divided by the number 4. 4 goes into 4 once. 4 goes into 8 2 times. 9 times 2 is 18. 1 times 7 is 7. We notice that that is a top-heavy fraction. So once again, we had to divide. So we're going to do 18 divided by 7. It doesn't go into 1, but it goes into 18 2 times for an answer of 2 4/7. Okay, what if you were that person that did this? Let's see what happens. If you don't know your facts, you have the answer 72 over 28. Okay, you still have to do division because you have top-heavy fraction. So let's try it. Let's do 72 divided by 28. Okay, let's see, it's going to go in there 2 times because it won't go into 7 2 times. 2 times 8 here is 16. So I have 56. And we're going to subtract. So I have 2 and 16 over 28. Why don't these two match up? Because we have to reduce this. We need to find a number on top and a number on bottom. They both can be factored by. Well, if I look at my factor sheet, I found that the number 4 goes into both of these. 4 goes into 16 4 times, and 4 goes into 28 7 times. Don't forget our big number 2. So you should have gotten the same answer. Okay. Hopefully you guys all understand how to do this. Whatever homework your teacher has assigned for you on a Google form is what I'd like for you to complete. And then I guess I won't get to see you tomorrow, but I will be back on Thursday.